Hello, everybody. Welcome back to season season 4, session 1, part 2. Just remember the first part was just a continuation of preseason. I should just call the preseason Neil talking.
Spoils of War.
Just got Neil talking,
Spoils
part
of War.
1, part 11, part
Spoils of
43. So, moving on. You guys pull up in your boat. And as soon as you pull up in your boat, you of course have the sigil of Valoran, which has never actually officially been decided upon, because you thought you decided upon it, and then your god changed, and we haven't seen any admissions to find out what your.
I'm thinking perhaps a field covered in corpses with an empty.
So you guys go rolling up with some sort of signifier of where you're from. And so the guards that are there would actually kind of call out and be like, not familiar with that flag. Where are you from? One of them's like, it's Lvov. They're Perrin. Look at them. The other one's like, Perrin? The hell's the matter with you? They've got an orc with them. Yeah, but orcs live in Perrin too. Well, sure enough, they probably came from Vala. You Perrin?
We're from Valoran.
Where? That's the one that we fought the war with. Oh, that's right, that's right. Oh, isn't that the one? Oh, you're the one that made the undead then.
No, actually, not quite.
It was you and Vigil that made them. I heard the
No.
story. Catchy tune, too. It was a catchy tune.
Someone made a song.
Indeed, yeah.
You know, could you give me a rendition?
I don't remember the lyrics.
You don't remember the lyrics, but you remember like the unimportant bit.
Well, I mean, I couldn't tell you all the lyrics to Fergalicious, but I can tell you the general meaning of it. There's somebody named Fergie. She finds herself delicious.
Fair enough. You know, that's a fair cop. But no, we didn't create the undead.
Nonetheless, you should probably stay there, and we'll go in and fetch the captain to. Oh, Jesus Christ, Oklo! Oklo trying to pull that train back out of the station. Oh my God!
Jesus.
I wouldn't be surprised if that launched the train and brought it up to level. Assuming it came back to
Launched it right up Scott's ass.
that's actually where I like it. I never know when it comes back. It doesn't tell me. But moving on. So you it's supposed to be after 2 hours. He says, and so one of them's like, you're gonna have to stay here and we go get the captain. The other one's like, we should bring him over to the captain. Captain's busy. And so they kind of like agree to take the two of you, leaving your guard and everything else here on the boat, to go and meet with the captain of the guard.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm down.
And so they will
DTF.
Bring you. It's one of those things where it's not just, they don't strip you. They don't take your weapons. They don't do anything like that, right? But they do, of course, outnumber you. So they'll actually end up having 6 people leading you over there because they don't know who you are and you're first coming in. They're not aggressive. They don't have like weapons pointed at you. Nothing obnoxious like that. But 2 ahead, 2 beside, 2 behind, leading you across town to do this. It's actually one of those things where you're like, wow, that's actually a pretty, like, I mean, they're not marching, they're walking. But their formation, even the way they grip their weapons, it's better than you would have expected, but certainly not as good as, say, the soldiers that serve under Leon. Leon would not allow this kind of like sloppy walk. But it's actually better than you would have expected. Anyways, Tesh, do me a favor and name for me what weapon you would have been training with actively at that moment.
Probably tried a bunch of things. Maybe trying short sword, seeing if you can hold that.
I think short sword's a martial weapon, not a simple weapon, which means I don't think you're proficient with it, which is fun because you're terrible at that.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah.
So when you guys come walking up, you're going to see somebody who is clearly the captain of the guard. You know this for a few reasons. First and foremost, the way that they're dressed. Secondly, the way that they present themselves. And third of all, you've met him before on the bridge when he was the captain of the militia of Hard in the past. You actually know him, Rayrin, and he was actually very kind to you back then.
He was a good chap.
And you see him currently sparring with a man who, well, is very feebly handling a short sword. A sword that would be held in one hand by most is feebly grasped in two hands by the person you see before you. Describe for us, Tesh, this man that's sparring with the captain.
Okay, so you see about a 6'9" human. No, Heron.
6'9".
5'9", right? Not 6 foot.
I was gonna say. All of a sudden, I went from "haha, this man's pathetic" to
No, 5'9", 5'9".
yeah, poor
Like
Jake can break his neck.
maybe human. Wait, no, he's a very young parent. You've been around enough parent now to see at least the little signs, but he's very young parent. He's fairly, he's not lanky. He's not buff either. His arms are very much lanky though, and he's got short brown hair, goggles on his eyes, no clean shaven face. Now his clothes, he's wearing a fairly beat up trench coat almost over most of what he's wearing. So it's hard to see the most of what he's got. You can clearly see that his hands are wrapped though in fairly tight wraps. And his clothes, you can see under his trench coat, his clothes look a little burnt, little worse for wear. And he's really struggling to hold that short sword. And I imagine if all it would take was one deflection, and that sword would fly straight out of his hands.
Are his hands is each finger wrapped individually, or is
Yes.
it like a mitten wrap? Okay.
No, each finger is wrapped individually. Now, considering they're wrapped, he's able to move them okay, just not strongly, apparently.
You see the two of them sparring. It is supposed to be 2 hours, by the way. I don't know why it didn't, but that's fine. So you see the two of them sparring with one another. But I mean, these feeble arms that he just described to you, this all wrapped and looking slender and the like. He is easily holding this short sword in two hands, and you watch as the captain of the guard, who, honestly, watching him, he knows his way around the blade, but you're pretty sure that any ranked soldier, not like a typical enlistment or whatever, that's just typical pikeman, but any like lieutenant of yours, let alone you yourselves, would be able to best this man in combat. You're almost positive that. Nonetheless, he's very able to easily thwart aside an attack from this man that you don't know. Easily able to thwart the attack aside, and he's just trying to smack the attack aside, but ends up accidentally disarming him. Literally, the weapon goes flying from his hands and sticks into the ground nearby. One of those not like perfect up and down, but almost like stabs in sideways, and it's sitting there like shaking at like only so many degrees up off of the ground as it sticks in. It's hilt just above the ground.
You might even, like, when that happens, hear not a strong grunt, but like a little bit of pain from the individual that it got knocked from.
Okay. So you you hear the pain, whatever it is, like you said, drop from, and how do you guys react? What do you guys do?
I mean, there are a bunch of guards here. Let's wait for them to announce this.
Yep. So I gotta drink some water.
Stay hydrated, kids, and old people like Scott. You too, important. Just to be perfectly clear, Norway, you're not counting them on the old.
I started making the joke of calling my coworkers boomers on my Zoom calls and like our groupie things and whatnot. I started making, but then I had to describe what a boomer was. It's like,
Oh no!
somebody was like, "How old do you think I am?" I was like, "No, it doesn't actually mean like a baby boomer. It just means like out of touch. You know what I mean? Like,
Uh-oh.
It just means." And so I had to use a self-deprecating joke to give an example of how you can use boomer in reference to somebody older than me referring to me as a boomer as part of the joke. And then, of course, I got a lot of laughs from a lot of people about that, but not from the person I called a boomer. Just saying, it's Zoom. It's not that hard. So you spreadsheets. So you waggling my finger at you. You see that as soon as that sword flies from the hands, the guard immediately drops his sword down by his side and says, "You okay?"
Yeah. I'll be fine.
I've told you time again. I don't know why you keep trying a blade. It doesn't sit well in your hands. You should hold something a little bit more comfortable, a larger grip to it. Whether it be something as long as, say, like a staff, something that you can use more defensively as opposed to offensively, or even just keeping a shield at arm and the other hand free, or a mace in hand. It might be more suited for you. Perhaps you shouldn't be using weapons like this.
I'm getting that impression. I'm not sure I could handle a shield though, but thank you.
Of course, it's not like it seems to
It was
matter
like
anyways.
stretches.
Not like it seems to matter anyways. You walk into hordes of them, and you walk out with barely a scratch.
True. Wouldn't mind having some backup though, just in case.
Indeed. Nonetheless, you keep telling all my men to stay back. I swear you almost have a death wish.
Well, you might not be that wrong.
He'll actually chuckle at that, assuming it's a joke, and
Yeah.
and he'll like step forward and like
Headband stares him in the eye.
No. He would like smile as he says that, playing it off as the joke sort of thing.
And he gives you like he comes up and gives you like a light pat on the shoulder. He learned a long time ago, light pats on the shoulders. You've done a good job healing in the past, say, 6 weeks or so, but or 5 weeks, whatever, 4 weeks, whatever it's been. Maybe 3. I'm just thinking of timeline here. It's actually been about 3.5 weeks since you got here. Yeah. So you've done a good job healing, but nonetheless, it's still not fully recovered by any stretch, and you don't know if your arms will ever be the same again. So he comes over and gives you a very light pat on the shoulder, not soldier.
Got there eventually.
And then kind of looks past you and says, "Oh, looks like we have company." And the group of them are standing a bit off to the side. Technically speaking, and I will tell you because of the distance, they weren't yelling by any stretch, but because of the distance, you will have to roll a DC 26 perception to have heard that whole conversation. If you beat a 20, you heard parts of it, more or less just the overall friendly nature. You can roll a perception check, you boys.
Let's do it! Woo!
Oh, I like that. So Rayron hears part of it,
Get
and one
perceptive,
hears all of it.
boys. Like how we both rolled 16s. Perfectly balanced. As all triumvirates with only 2 people should be.
Sorry, just responding to something really quickly because I don't fully understand.
I would kind of bump your arm and just be kind of whisper to you. So he is the hero of Harrowhead, not the guard
What?
captain.
The guard?
Can't hold the sword.
Surely not.
That's what they said. Apparently, he walks into hordes of them and comes back without a scratch.
Well, I suppose we've seen strangers.
Gentlemen, welcome to Herod, says the captain as he starts walking over towards you. Cool. As he starts walking over towards you and says, welcome to Herod. Actually, please excuse me. Oh, you look a little familiar to me. He says, looking at Rayron, who's now clean shaven and cleaned up compared to how he was beforehand. And
Wearing different armor, actually, yeah.
Yep. And so the guards that laid them over actually announce you, who they've, of course, taken your names or whatever from before. They say, these, Captain, are the chosen from Valoran. Chosen of the blade and chosen of the...
Rayron would sit forward and offer a hand.
Fill the blank.
Still leaving that one.
We'll wait another 3 seasons, like it took to get Corvain.
I actually remember that name being dropped on like the early sessions. I swear I remember that name being dropped a lot early, a
Corvain?
lot longer ago. Yeah.
No. That's just quarantine
No,
getting
Tesh
to you.
speaks the truth.
No, it's quarantine getting to you. You're going a little crazy there, Tesh. That's all it is.
I swear, because the second I saw that popped up, I'm like, oh, that's right.
Nope. He inceptioned you. So you, my apologies. You actually are. He steps forward and he shows another, and you step forward and you go to extend your hand, saying Rayrin, correct? He says, that's right. You were there on the bridge that day. You were the one that won that fight.
Yes. It is pleasant to meet you in a more, pleasant circumstance, if not altogether what I would wish for.
He nods to the sentiment. He says, please excuse me if I'm wrong. You won the battle that day, and you were unfortunately attacked. And then that's not where the day ended. I was hoping that you and I would not have to clash steel. Unfortunately, we did.
Indeed. It had been... I'd been informed that our allies at Vigil had been besieged by Belturun and a large army of slaves. Although I had intended not to fight you if at all possible, circumstances had changed and I needed to rush to the defense of my allies. We also lost a battle up by Reed. This left our capital undefended, and so in desperation I unfortunately took a hard decision to end aggressions in the south so that we could bring our forces north.
It is unfortunate that we did have to have things come to blows. I don't blame you for the decision that you had to make. Of course, me on the other side of the battle genuinely had spites towards you after how things played out that day. But when you learn a bit more information, I came to realize, as you had just described, what was happening throughout the rest of Idir, and that decision had to be made. Besides that, technically speaking, you were attacked as well. So I understand the approach that you took. I just wished we didn't have to have people lay down their lives that day. Many did. We dug their graves. Those graves, of course, didn't stay rested, because unfortunately your actions did lead you to return to Vigil, and you were able to save Vigil from the onslaught that was brought to them, which allowed them to raise the dead. So
yes.
While I don't blame you for your actions on the bridge, unfortunately those actions led to you aiding the true curse around here, Vigil, who raised the dead and brought upon us all a plague that we are just barely surviving.
Perhaps I could elucidate this matter further. It would appear that you have heard a half-truth, or a three-quarters truth, perhaps. If you would care to hear the story, I would be happy to tell you.
You seemed an honorable sort when I met you before. I would be more than happy to give you an opportunity to plead your case. As it stands right now, the people here do not trust the flag that you wave. There are rumors about your people, and I would like to hear your take on the matter. If you would be so inclined, I'd like to take you back to we'll call it barracks that we've established for ourselves for now. Perhaps we can have a drink, take a bit of the edge off. I imagine your trek here from somewhere so far was not easy.
I would appreciate that. Can I say, it pleases me very much that although we met on the field of battle, we can now meet civilly as gentlemen. One, if you would indulge me, is that truly the hero of Harrod?
He's not far behind. Actually, I imagine at this point you may have even stepped forward to stand beside your friend. Would you have, Tesh?
Yeah. It'd be one of those things where it's like there's like it's clearly a formal meeting, and then halfway through it, he's gone, fuck it, and walked up. Like he gave up like pretense of trying to listen in and just walked up at some stage.
To beer, or I'm gonna assume is how your name is pronounced. just like when I have played on other channels, people playing games like Warhammer and whatnot. They Dungeons and Dragons is the de facto TTRPG tag or whatever you want to call it. That's on their category. So, besides, Pathfinder is Dungeons and Dragons. It's literally 3.5 with very slightly altered rules. So it is actually Dungeons and Dragons with slightly altered rules from 3.5. It's just owned by a different publishing company, so they couldn't legally call it Dungeons and Dragons. So back to the game. So you give your response there, Tesh, and the captain had what he did was kind of like not like step back, but almost like turned his body towards you to allow you to respond. And you did respond in kind.
Yeah, he was just like you say. This the hero of Harrod. He's just like, "Hi, I guess so."
This man who you've not met, his eyes narrow slightly. He gives you this sort of, for just a split second, this calculating look, and then he smiles pleasantly and says, "I see. A pleasure to make your acquaintance, hero."
You'll see him sort of like flinch at the word hero, and then a pleasure to make your acquaintance too. You chosen? He like goes to say it and looks at Jack, looks back. Chosen? Is that right?
Yes. My name is Rayrin, and this, eat motion.
There's another blow.
Nice to meet you too. I don't want to hold you from the meeting.
Well, actually, Captain, I wouldn't mind if this gentleman decided to join us. I too would care to hear his tale on how he became the hero of Harrod.
He's not so inclined to share stories like that. If you wish to hear those stories, I imagine, he says, looking at you kindly, you can look about town and find those that are more than willing to share the tales that they have heard. Pushing past all that, I do have one final, I suppose, requisite before we go and have that drink. You came by river, not by land. That's not the most direct path from your home. That means you have news from our allied cities beyond. I wish to hear that news.
The chef fares relatively well. In fact, that is where we set off from, traveling by boat down the river. However, Forven is all but gone. We passed, perhaps.
You need not go over it all now. I can tell by your tone. We need that drink first. Gentlemen, please, if you can return to your post, I've got them from here. Sir, I've got them from here. And he'll turn and kind of like lead you back to, we're going to call it the barracks. And they're going to return back to the barracks or whatever that they have there that they've set up for themselves. Again, it's not really a barracks. It wasn't a building that had another purpose that's been repurposed to the barracks at this point. He leads you in there, and whatever guards might happen to be kind of sitting around there, relaxing, not sleeping. He wouldn't be such a douche to kick out anybody that's sleeping. But he has them kind of clear out the area.
Go play outside, kids.
Huh?
He's like, go play outside, kids.
Yeah, more or less. But if there's anybody sleeping, he's not a jerk, so he doesn't like kick them out. And he'll actually go and tries to find like a bit of a comfortable spot with you guys there, but very quickly realizes this is not the right arrangement, the right scenario for you. So he ends up like leaving the spot, kind of like putting down the weapons, the gear, so on and so forth. Actually gestures towards a weapon and to Ilin here, and just kind of laughs and says, "One of these might work." and then you end up leaving, and it actually brings you to a tavern instead, where you guys are able to kind of like sit around the table, be more comfortable. The innkeeper will actually come over, the tavern keeper will actually come over, and will say, "Hey, gents, just so you know, I know you just walked in, haven't even ordered yet, but I've already been told all the drinks are on," and he gestures towards a group of people over there. That group of people, you've seen them around town more and more. And the numbers have been swelling, Ilin. They call the Illinites. They They are
okay.
a group of people that are inspired by the way that you've been going in there, and they actually almost see it as their responsibility. They're not even technically a part of the guards, so some of them are actually part of the guards as well, refer to themselves as Illinites. What they've actually been doing is they've actually will go and they'll wait on the edge of town, wherever it is that you're going after to fight the undead. And as soon as they see any beacon or whatever that you're starting to come back towards town, they will charge out there to meet you. And any that might lingerers or whatever that might be following behind, they'll handle it there and make sure that in case you are feeling a bit weakened or drained or whatever it might be, that you are that you're get home safe and comfortable. Even if you're not, they almost always meet you out there with a skin of wine or like a leg of a bird or the like to make sure that you're well fed, and they actually look up to you, not quite worship like, let's not say, but they actually see you genuinely as a hero of the town, and their numbers are swelling. I wouldn't put a percentage on it yet, but their numbers are swelling. And so the fact that as soon as you walk in and sit down, the innkeeper can't, they've already offered to pay for all the drinks that the four of you are going to have.
You'll see him like do the whole like nod to them and then just sort of like sink a bit, just like, oh god damn it.
So anyways, yeah, like you said, you sink down just a little bit, whatever it might be. And they he looks to you and says, "You wish to tell your version of the tale. Please do so. But Neil, you don't have to worry about retelling it. You can honestly just tell the tale with a simple diplomacy or performance oratory check. Your call, because you're trying to convince this man.
This would be diplomacy because he's telling the truth.
And we
all
know the story
as well.
I'm sorry?
Should be able to aid him, right?
Absolutely.
He'll lean forward and he'll be like, I was covered entirely in blood. And
So you have a +2?
Actually, you can roll to see what you provide.
Okay.
You provide a +3. Neil? Good roll. Guess you were a 32. Do you want to luck die? See if you can get to that 35?
No, thank you.
So yeah, you end up telling your story from your perspective, and he listens, but he's not the only one listening. Aelin, you listen. You hear every bit of this story, and it's just one, disheartening because of what these people had to go through. This woman that's actually spoken of at least by one of these two in a somewhat venerating fashion, paying their respects to the sacrifice she made. The other one maybe a little bit quiet at this point. One not looking to chime too much there, but she sacrificed herself for this boon to take place to win that battle, but all those souls rested. And that is not at all what transpired. As a matter of fact, it was literally, unfortunately, the ascension of a deity in the region that caused this. You saw the darkness that spread across the lands, even if it lasted only for a moment or two. You heard of this darkness, just as you heard beforehand of the light that spread across Idir. Something that's catch people's attention that live along the border towns between Idir and Paradel. And I'd be like, it was then. You know what I mean? And kind of like a discussion of that, they would realize they're not wrong. You know what I mean? It actually was around that time that this would have taken place, not necessarily along the time that the visual did it. You convince him wholeheartedly, not just him. You convinced Ilan of this, of your innocence when it comes to the undead, how you were equally surprised, how you were also surprised and very much against the idea of Vigil utilizing the spirits as they did, and maybe even informing them that they lost control of those spirits as, once again, another convincing factor that Vigil was not at all involved in this, and so therefore you were not at all involved in this. You notice pretty quickly, you don't even need to roll a sense motive, because I know Jake just auto 60s. You notice pretty quickly that you have swayed him back into your camp. He respected you as an individual. He didn't like what happened on the bridge that day during the war, but he understood why things happened because he knows the position that Hodgwen puts people in. And so even though he thought it was a terrible decision, he understands why you had to make it, because of Hodgwen. And he also forgives and does not hold you at all accountable for the things that you did not do, which is the resurrection of the undead and the like. He does, however, curse under his breath this god and their ascension, and the fact that it caused this, which I imagine is also approached in a diplomatic way, not completely arguing with him, but also opening his minds that maybe that perception was an incorrect one, because this god didn't do it intentionally. It was a unforeseen side effect of what it of their ascension, and that they are doing what they can to try to end this. But gods, you know how fickle they be. So actually, once again, you gain him very much back into your camp. He's very friendly, and Ilan, very friendly as well. I imagine you inform him of everything that has been transpiring. Rid, Hodgwen,
Yep.
Valorin, Lashev, of course, being the one that seems to be holding the best at the moment, and Forvin. When he hears about Forvin, he actually hangs his head a little low on that one, and he explains to you, as I was explaining to Jake beforehand. Neil had unfortunately stepped out to all of you guys beforehand. Exactly what happened. The short version: people came through here informing him that there was a bit of a slave trade happening. He didn't believe them, required some degree of proof. They got proof, saying that slave trade was coming from Paradel, outside of Idir. This is going to be, I'm going to put this on the map here so you guys can see a little bit better. Going from Lvov, way up here, traveling along the river. So Lvov, traveling along the river, all the way down through Lashev, where they were paying off handfuls of golds to people there. You heard about that. You actually reaped the benefit of that later on as they raided those places and shut down those businesses, and then gave some of that gold to you guys to help aid the lands. Forvin, where he personally aided them to a degree, a very small degree, in the capturing of that captain, but didn't hold the captain here because he didn't feel as though it was appropriate. And then dropping them off in Forvin, where from Forvin, they would then travel down to Meshtez. Meshtez being, of course, a slave capital place. Yes, sir.
Would I know about the slaves coming from Idir? Would be like one of the things where everyone knows, but you're not meant to know about it?
Nope.
No,
that paperwork gets washed, and you very much were not a part of that at all.
Cool.
As we saw in your as some.
Yeah, I just meant if it was known that that's a thing that happens, or if that's a secret thing. So it's
it's like
thing.
everyone knows, but no one knows.
After this video of session 1 gets posted,
I don't know.
After the video of this session 1 of season 4 gets posted on YouTube, I will then post your backstory
Yay.
as well. So patrons have had it for some time, but that way the regular viewers can see it as well. So anyways, he explains that and how it kind of played down there, and the fact that he was embarrassed this was coming through his place. He wasn't really a captain of the guard. He was captain of the militia, which means only in times of big problems he would come forward, and even that wasn't something that he had to do at all ever. It was an embarrassment. It's been rectified, and even the people that were involved here weren't directly involved. They didn't realize it was happening. They just kind of accepted the stamps. He informs you that it's unfortunately partially his fault why things are happening in Forvin, because by removing that captain, as I described beforehand, that's why that city-state fell. Without him, they didn't really have leadership. But they can't really inherit. They can't really lend any aid there. You hear all these things, Ilan, including the most devastated areas, Hodgwen and Forvin, and Vigil. And I'm sure you have a couple of thoughts passing through your head. We, of course, going to have to bring this session to a close shortly because we still need to say our goodbyes, and I have work in 13 minutes.
Oh, shit.
Yep. So
Just quit.
I can't be late for that call either. Since I'm the one that has to teach people all the techie stuff, there's no excuse for me to be late.
Just follow yourself.
No. So,
It's a good word, isn't it? Follow.
furlough.
Yeah.
As opposed to fillet, which is probably what you're thinking. So, I imagine your character comes to some degree of understanding of them. He offers for you guys to spend the night in a degree of comfort. He'll find a room for you. And after a long night of drinking and discussing and talking and getting to know one another, that conversation that we just rolled for lasted for hours and hours. You guys are tipsy, not drunk, you're not stupid. You'd be allowed to spend the night There was just an attack last night, so there's no concerns about zombies anytime soon. You'll be allowed to spend the night, and in the morning, you can finally discuss what your plans are moving forward, what influence Valoran wants to have in this region, what they can offer. And
We
hopefully what
want
they can
it
return.
all.
So with that, why don't we close our session? Tesh just barely getting integrated in.
Just there. At least I'm in now.
Yeah, sorry, Tesh. Sorry about
It's fine.
But next week you'll actually get to fully meet them and meet everybody else.
I like
Thank
that.
you.
Like we showed off a bit of what I can do, but in a way that it still hides a lot of what I can do.
I guess you could say
Secret.
Ilan's under wraps.
Ah.
Thank you, everybody, for all the ridiculous amount of support and so on. I truly appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
We appreciate it as well.
Just simply
Because it
say
shows
really
that
quickly.
we're the best Aurora.
I'm going to say really quickly, tonight, 9 p.m. EST, Lost Initiative, Twitch.tv/Lost Initiative show is my Star Wars campaign going on my other channel. Neil is going live in not today, so don't worry about Neil. Jake, you can find him on the Discord. I'm going to spam the Discord link in chat so you guys can click it if you're not already a part of it.
There's so much to discuss in the chat. Help us plan our next move.
Plan the next move. Seriously, help them come up with lists and whatnot that they need to make sure that they can.
And an updated flag.
Oh,
And
yeah.
also, I really need to nail down the
Neil.
specifics of Nankaro's religion.
Yep, that could be fun. That actually might be a fun chat that maybe we should try to put together. Neil, there's like 1 million subs because everybody gives
You
subs.
asking for a
subs and
date?
that. We should probably do like a Zoom chat with a bunch of community members so we can kind of like talk about that. But
God.
but moving on. And Tesh, we'll actually let you talk about yourself.
Hi, I'm Tesh of the Tesh Shoot. Find me under that name on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Follow me on Twitter for Catamagus. Follow me on Twitch for Monster Hunter. Lots of Monster Hunter. Much Monster Hunter. And on my Mondays, but America's Sunday nights, I'm on twitch.tv/Ollyrant doing a detective agency campaign where I'm playing a very different boy to this boy, a very stabby boy. Stabs a lot.
And wield a short sword.
Yeah.
You wield a lot more than a short sword.
Thank you all again very much. We are going to raid Bird is the Word. Swing on by, at least to share a little bit of love, and stick around if you like hanging out with Bird. She's a really
Hey,
cool
Bird is the
person.
Word.
I love Bird. She's a cool person. She's good people. So either way, swing on by there, share some love with her, and then everybody have yourself a great day. We'll all see you later on or tomorrow, whatever the case may be, and definitely see you in the Discord. Goodbye.
150 stepdaddies now.